If you won't watch the 7 kids so I can network, don't bother coming. My sister Courtney's voice was sharp, dismissive, the tone of someone instructing a subordinate who had missed a shift. Our parents were on speaker in the background, chiming in to tell me I was being unreasonable, selfish, difficult. I looked at the reservation confirmation on my screen. $18,000. That was the cost of the luxury ski trip to Vail I had fully funded. The glass mansion, the first-class flights, the private chef, all paid for by me, the selfish one. I took a breath. It was steady, cold. Then my $18,000 wasn't invited to Christmas either, I said. I hung up before she could respond. And then I canceled every single travel plan I had made with my sister's family. My phone exploded. Before I tell you what happened when they arrived at the airport with no tickets, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from. I want to see who's part of the squad today. To understand why I agreed to fund an $18,000 vacation in the first place, you have to understand the economy of my family. I am a luxury event planner. My life is built on logistics, precision, and the ability to make impossible things happen for very wealthy people. I negotiate 6-figure contracts, manage teams of 50, and ensure that when a client wants a white tiger at their reception, there is a white tiger. I am competent. I am successful. But in the hierarchy of my family, I am simply the help. My sister Courtney is different. Courtney is 30, beautiful, and drowning in a lifestyle she cannot afford. She describes herself as a lifestyle curator on Instagram, which mostly involves posting photos of lattes she bought with credit cards that are nearly maxed out. She is the golden child, the main character, the one whose tantrums are treated as weather events we must all shelter from. For years I believed that if I just paid enough, I would eventually be allowed to sit at the adults' table. I paid for the baby showers, I paid for the anniversary dinners, I paid for the emergency car repairs. I realized later that this wasn't generosity. It was a tax. The family tax. It is the premium you pay to be tolerated by people who share your DNA. It is the belief that affection is a subscription service, and if you miss a payment, your access is revoked. I paid the tax because I thought it was the price of admission. So when Courtney pitched the idea of a perfect family Christmas in Vail, Colorado, I didn't see a vacation. I saw an invoice for love. It has to be the glass mansion she had insisted sending me a link to a property that costs $6,000 for 4 nights. And we need a private chef for Christmas Eve. It's the only way to make it special. I looked at the numbers. $18,000 total. It was a down payment on a house. It was a year of savings. But I looked at my parents, Angela and Richard, nodding along, talking about how magical it would be. I saw the way they looked at Courtney like she was the sun and I was just the gravity keeping her in orbit. I'll cover it, I said. Consider it my gift. The tax was paid. I thought I had bought my seat at the table. Then came the call. Great news, Courtney said, her voice bright and breathless. I invited the Ashfords to stay with us. I froze. The Ashfords were a family of local influencers. Courtney had been desperate to impress for months. They were wealthy, stylish, and completely unaware that Courtney's wealth was a house of cards built on my bank account. Where are they going to sleep? I asked. The house only has 4 bedrooms. Oh, we figured that out, Courtney said breezily. Hunter and I will take the master. Mom and Dad get the second suite. The Ashfords need the other 2 rooms for them and their 4 kids. I did the math. That leaves no rooms, Courtney. Where am I sleeping? Well, that's the other great thing, she said. Since there's no room for you to ski anyway, you can stay in the bunk room with the kids. It's perfect because you can watch them while we're on the slopes. Mrs. Ashford wants to network and I really need this, Kelsey. You don't mind, right? It's family time. She wasn't inviting me on vacation. She was inviting me to work. She had taken the $18,000 asset I provided, sold the equity to strangers for social clout, and demoted me to unpaid staff in the house I had paid for. I am not coming as a babysitter, I said, my voice flat. Don't be dramatic, she snapped. If you won't help, don't come. And just like that, the contract was breached. The family tax was no longer enough. She wanted my dignity too. Tears are a waste of billable hours. In my line of work, when a venue floods an hour before a wedding or a caterer walks out, you don't panic. You assess the damage, you calculate the cost, and you execute the solution. Courtney had just breached the contract of our relationship. She had made it clear that my role was not sister but staff. And when a client becomes abusive, you don't negotiate. You terminate the agreement. I walked to my desk and opened my laptop. The screen glowed blue in my dark apartment, the only light in the room. I pulled up the master spreadsheet titled Vail Christmas. It was a thing of beauty. Color-coded rows, confirmation numbers, itinerary links. It represented weeks of my labor and $18,000 of my savings. I started at the top. The accommodation. The glass mansion. $6,000 prepaid. I navigated to the booking portal and found the Modify, Cancel button. A warning box popped up in aggressive red text. Cancellation within 7 days of arrival will incur a penalty of $1,000. Do you wish to proceed? Most people would hesitate. $1,000 is a mortgage payment. It is a vacation in itself. But I looked at that number and I didn't see a loss. I saw a severance fee. I saw the price of my dignity. I clicked yes. Status canceled. Refund of $5,000 processing. Next, the flights. First class for 7 people. Courtney Hunter, my parents, the 3 kids. I pulled up the airline website. Because I had booked premium fares, they were refundable but with significant fees. Another $1,200 in penalties. Click. Canceled. The private chef for Christmas Eve dinner. The 5-day luxury SUV rental. The ski lift passes. The prepaid spa treatments for Courtney and Mom. One by one, I dismantled the holiday. I watched the rows on my spreadsheet turn from green to gray. It took me 12 minutes to undo 3 months of planning. When I was finished, I tallied the damage. The total cancellation fees came to $3,600. I had just set fire to $3,600 in less than a quarter of an hour. My hands should have been shaking. I should have felt sick. Instead, I felt a strange cold rush of adrenaline. It was the cleanest money I had ever spent. I wasn't losing it. I was using it to buy myself out of a lifetime of servitude. Then came the final decision. The systems asked me, "Do you want to send an automated cancellation notice to all guests?" My finger hovered over the mouse. If I sent the notice, they would know tonight. They would scream, they would call, they would demand I fix it. They would have time to make other plans. They would have time to spin the narrative. But Courtney had said, "If you won't help, don't come." She had set the terms. I was simply complying. I was staying home. And since I was the one who paid for the trip, my money was staying home with me. I unchecked the box. I didn't send a text. I didn't send an email. I closed my laptop, the fan whirring into silence. It was 2 days before Christmas. They were packing their bags. They were posting photos of their ski outfits on Instagram. They had no idea that they were holding tickets to a ghost vacation. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat by the window, and watched the city lights. The clock was ticking down to their arrival at the airport, and for the first time in years, I wasn't stressed. I was waiting. The silence broke at 5:03 a.m. on Christmas Eve. My phone, resting on the bedside table, lit up. It vibrated once, twice, and then began a frantic buzzing dance that didn't stop. I rolled over and picked it up. 18 missed calls. 12 text messages. "Courtney, we're at the check-in counter. They can't find the reservation." "Courtney, are you awake? Call me now." "Courtney, they're saying the flights were canceled yesterday. Is this a joke?" "Hunter Kelsey, pick up. This isn't funny." "Courtney, the Ashfords are watching me. Fix this." I sat up, wrapping my duvet around me, and sipped the coffee I had prepared the night before. I watched the messages roll in like a live ticker of a stock market crash. The panic was palpable. But what struck me most wasn't the fear. It was the entitlement. Even in the face of disaster, Courtney wasn't worried about her children being cold or disappointed. She was worried about the audience. The Ashfords were standing right next to her at the airport, terminal luggage piled high, watching the perfect influencer trip dissolve into chaos. For Courtney, this wasn't just a logistical failure. It was a narcissistic injury. To someone like my sister, reality is just a stage set. When the curtain falls and reveals the plywood and duct tape, it feels like death. She wasn't fighting for a vacation. She was fighting for the survival of her false self. The messages shifted tone at 5:45 a.m. "Courtney, you canceled it. The agent just told me. Canceled per client request." "Courtney, you actually canceled it." "Courtney, how could you do this to me? Do you have any idea how bad I look right now? Mrs. Ashford is staring at me. You have ruined my life." She didn't ask why. She didn't apologize for the ultimatum. She went straight to the victim narrative. I was the villain who had maliciously destroyed her reputation. Then came the voicemail. I played it on speaker. "Kelsey, pick up the phone." Courtney's voice was ragged, bordering on hysterical. "We are standing here with 7 kids and luggage for a week and nowhere to go. You need to rebook this right now. Put it on your card. I don't care what it costs. Fix it before the Ashfords realize what's happening." Behind her, I could hear the distinct wail of a tired child and the clipped, angry voice of a woman, Mrs. Ashford, asking, "So, is there a plane or not, Courtney?" I didn't smile. I didn't feel joy. I felt a profound sense of validation. They were exactly who I thought they were. I typed my first and only response of the morning. "You told me if I didn't want to work, I shouldn't come. I took your advice. I stayed home. And since I paid for the trip, my money stayed with me." I hit send. Then I muted the conversation, put my phone down, and went to make breakfast. The sun was just starting to rise over the city, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges. Somewhere in an airport terminal, my sister's world was burning down. But in my kitchen, it was quiet. By 8 a.m., the reinforcements had arrived. My parents, Angela and Richard, were awake, and they were furious. I knew exactly how Courtney had spun the story. She would have told them I forgot to book it, or there was a glitch, or that I was having a mental breakdown. She would never admit she had given me an ultimatum. My phone lit up with my father's name. I let it ring. Then my mother's. I let it ring. The text started. "Mom, call us immediately. Courtney is hysterical. She says you canceled the trip out of spite. What is wrong with you? Dad, you need to fix this right now. Book whatever is available. I don't care about the cost. Do not do this to your sister. Mom, you are being an egoist. You are a terrible daughter. You are destroying this family over nothing. Dad, I raised you better than this. You should be ashamed. Mom, the children are crying in an airport because of you. How do you sleep at night?" Reading them felt like an audit of my own guilt. I felt that familiar reflex to smooth things over, to apologize, to pay the tax. But then I looked at the spreadsheet on my laptop. I looked at the $3,600 I had paid to be free of this. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to handle this professionally. I opened the family group chat. It was currently blowing up with accusations from my parents and wailing emojis from Courtney. I took a screenshot of the text message Courtney had sent me 2 days ago. "If you don't want to help with the kids, then don't come. We'll have a great time without you." Then I took a screenshot of the cancellation invoice from the resort. It was time-stamped 12 minutes after her text. The reason for cancellation was clearly marked in bold, "Cancelled per client request." I uploaded both images to the chat. Then I typed, "I accepted your invitation to stay home." My wallet stayed with me. Message sent. The chat went silent. The typing bubbles appeared and disappeared. They had no rebuttal. They couldn't claim I was crazy or forgetful. The receipts were right there. They had played a game of chicken with my dignity, and they had lost. But I wasn't done. This was a hostile client termination, and I needed to secure my assets. I called my concierge service. "This is Kelsey. I need to put a block on all travel bookings under my name for the next week. No authorized users. No family members. If anyone calls claiming to be me or my assistant, do not process the charge." "Understood, Miss Kelsey." Account locked. Next, I logged into my credit card portal. I froze the secondary card I had given my mother for emergencies years ago. I checked my recent activity. Nothing pending. I was safe. They were stranded in an airport, screaming at each other while I was sitting in my living room, protected by layers of passwords and boundaries. Then, just as I was about to close my laptop, a notification popped up on Instagram. A direct message request. It wasn't from my family. It was from Mrs. Ashford. The notification sat on my screen, a small red dot that signaled the end of any remaining sympathy I might have had. Mrs. Ashford, the influencer. The woman Courtney had built this entire charade to impress. I opened the message. "Mrs. Ashford, hey Kelsey, so sorry to bother you. We're at the airport and it's total chaos, lol. Courtney is saying there's a glitch with the booking. Anyway, I just got a Venmo request from her for $4,000 for our share of the chalet. I thought you said you covered the whole thing, just checking before I send it. Hope you're okay." I read it twice. Then I read it a third time, just to be sure I wasn't hallucinating from lack of sleep. $4,000. Courtney wasn't just using me for a free $18,000 vacation. She wasn't just demoting me to unpaid nanny. She was double-dipping. She had told the Ashfords that the trip was a group expense and was charging them $4,000 for the accommodation. Accommodation that I had already paid for in full. She was going to take their money, pocket it, and let me foot the bill. She was turning a profit on my generosity. She was scamming her own friends, using my credit card as the collateral. It was breathtaking. It was criminal. Any lingering guilt I felt about ruining Christmas evaporated instantly. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. This was fraud. I didn't hesitate. I didn't call Courtney to ask for an explanation. I went straight to the source. I typed my reply to Mrs. Ashford. Hi, Mrs. Ashford. I paid $18,000 for the entire trip, including the chalet, in full months ago. However, I canceled the reservation yesterday when I was uninvited. Do not send her money. She is charging you for a vacation that I paid for, and which no longer exists. I attached the cancellation receipt as proof. Sent. I watched the scene indicator appear. Then the typing bubbles. Then they stopped. Then silence. I imagined the scene at the airport. Mrs. Ashford standing there with her Louis Vuitton luggage, reading my message. Looking up at Courtney, who was likely still screaming at a poor gate agent about a glitch. The realization dawning that she wasn't just stuck. She was being swindled by the woman she was trying to impress. This was the kill shot. Courtney wanted to be an influencer. She wanted to be a socialite. Well, in that world, reputation is currency, and I had just bankrupted her. The fallout was immediate and nuclear. I didn't need to be there to see it. The text messages told the story in real time. Mrs. Ashford confronted Courtney in the middle of Terminal 3. Loudly, according to a text from my cousin who follows Mrs. Ashford on Instagram and saw her cryptic story about fake friends. She told Courtney she was disgusted and embarrassed for her. Then the Ashfords did exactly what wealthy people do. When inconvenienced, they solved the problem with money. They booked their own first-class flights to Park City instead, leaving Courtney and her family stranded at the gate. Courtney was alone. No influencer friends, no free mansion, no audience. Just an angry husband, 3 crying kids, and a pile of luggage in a busy airport on Christmas Eve. Because it was Christmas, there were no flights available, no rental SUVs. The only thing they could find was a minivan rental and a room at a Holiday Inn Express, 6 hours away from the slopes. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. It was Courtney. I answered. Kelsey. Her voice was unrecognizable. The sharp, commanding tone was gone, replaced by a wet, hiccuping sob. Kelsey, please. We're in a motel room. The heat is broken. The kids are freezing. Hunter is furious at me. Please. I know you have points. I know you have connections. Can you just book us a room, anything decent? Please, I'll do anything. It was the moment I had been waiting for my entire life. The golden child reduced to begging the help. The power flip was complete. She wasn't the main character anymore. She was a cautionary tale. I listened to her cry. I listened to the background noise of a cheap motel TV and her husband shouting something about financial ruin. You wanted to be the main character, Courtney, I said, my voice calm, almost gentle. Well, this is your plot twist. You're the mother. Figure it out. Kelsey, please. The kids. The kids have parents, I said, and for the first time in their lives, those parents are going to have to pay their own way. The call ended. Then came the digital wall. I blocked her number. I blocked my parents. I blocked Hunter. I blocked Mrs. Ashford just for good measure. I sat in my quiet apartment surrounded by the piece I had bought for $3,600. It was cheap at the price. New Year's Day found me in Cabo San Lucas. I was lying on a chaise lounge in a private villa watching the Pacific Ocean crash against the rocks. The air smelled of salt and lime. It was 75 degrees. The villa cost $4,000 for the week. The flight was first class. The tequila was top shelf. And the best part, I had paid for all of it, with the refund money from the canceled ski trip. My family tax had been refunded, and I had reinvested it in myself. I scrolled through my phone one last time before disconnecting. My cousin had sent me a screenshot of Courtney's Instagram story from Christmas Day. It was a photo of her kids eating pancakes at a Denny's near the motel. The caption read, "Making the best of a hard situation. Family is what matters, even when others try to ruin it." Number, resilience. Number, mom life. I zoomed in. She looked tired. Her hair was messy. There was no filter that could hide the misery in her eyes. And in the comments, Mrs. Ashford had left a single emoji, a snake. I smiled and deleted the screenshot. I thought about calling my parents, maybe offering an olive branch now that the dust had settled, but then I realized something profound. I didn't miss them. I didn't miss the guilt trips. I didn't miss the feeling of being an ATM with a pulse. I didn't miss the conditional love that evaporated the moment the check cleared. I had spent my entire life believing that family was a birthright, that because we shared blood, I owed them access to my life, my resources, my peace. But sitting here in the sun, I realized that access to me is a privilege, and they had lost it. I opened the family group chat one last time. Angela, Kelsey, please call us. We need to talk about this. Richard, this has gone on long enough. Courtney, I'm sorry, okay, just answer the phone. I didn't type a response. I didn't need the last word. My silence was louder than anything I could say. I tapped Leave Group. Then I blocked the numbers. Then I turned my phone face down on the table, picked up my margarita, and closed my eyes. The only sound was the ocean, vast and indifferent and free. If you've ever had to buy your own freedom from a toxic family, hit that like button and share this story with the Courtney in your life. Maybe they'll take the hint.